Today we're talking about my top 5 mastering plugins. So if you guys want to know what they are, stick around after this introduction.
Latch them softly.
Welcome everybody, I'm Dan Spencer and I am the Audio Sorcerer. So this is the channel where I teach you how to perfect your audio recording, mixing, and mastering skills. So before we get to the video, make sure you guys smash that like button. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell to know when videos coming out. So without further ado, today we're talking about my top 5 best mastering plugins. And the cool thing about these plugins is that are actually all in my mastering chain. And in this video, these plugins aren't in any particular order. I'm just kind of laying them all out for you. And if you guys end up liking any of them, I have links in the description below where you can go purchase them. And since you guys are watching this video, you might like this video popping up in the top right corner now, which is my video of my top 5 best plugins of 2021. So check that one out after this one. So with that being said, let's get to our first plugin, which is Alright, so the IK Multimedia T-Rax Classic Clipper. So in my opinion, everybody needs a clipper in their mastering chain and really just in their plugin collection in general. And we'll say soft clipper. So what I really love about this particular plugin is that it has a setting to determine how soft and how hard the clipping is, and you can go anywhere in between. Now, if we compare this to a limiter, a limiter, we'll say brick wall limiter actually. So if we set our, our peak at -1, nothing is going to get past that -1, okay? Now with a clipper, we're going to get past that here, and anything past that is going to be saturated in a good way. We like saturation. Now, what happens to that is when you digitally clip, it gets chopped off and it sounds bad, but with a soft clipper, it is more of a round curve here as opposed to getting cut right off. And that round curve is the saturation of the audio. It actually allows you to get your sound just a little bit louder. And it sounds, if you like saturation, which most of us do, it sounds a little bit more warmer, a little more analog, and it's usually very positive. Now, yes, you can destroy your audio with clipping. You have to do it right. So typically how I use the IK Multimedia Classic Clipper is I will usually shoot for more of a harder clipping with it, and I will try to get 1 dB of gain reduction in the very loudest parts of the song. So again, I use it in stages, so I'll use that, and then I have other plugins as I get down further in the chain here, okay? So you definitely need a clipper in your mastering chain, and this is one that I definitely recommend. So let's talk about our second plugin in my top 5 mastering plugins, which is Alright, so the SSL Fusion Stereo Imager plugin. So you guys definitely need some sort of stereo imaging in your mastering chain. Now, what a lot of people won't tell you is that most of the stereo imaging plugins out there are absolute garbage. So I can probably count the good ones out there on one hand. Alright, so this one is actually very, very good and probably the best one I've ever used. And I got it, I don't want to say by mistake, but I got the SSL bundle, but I didn't get it for this plugin. So it just happens that I put it on a master one day and I thought it sounded amazing. So the cool thing about it is that it's very easy to use. And of course it allows you to ignore the low end, which that is a must. So if you guys are shopping for a stereo imager plugin, it must allow you to ignore the low end. If it just affects the whole entire stereo mix, that is a bad stereo imaging plugin. Don't get it, all right? So recapping here, it allows you to ignore the low end up to a frequency of your choice, and then allows you to affect the sides. You can also affect the EQ of the sides, so you can roll off some of the low end. So what happens is it kind of funnels down the focus to the center. So low end, that makes it sound wider, but it also brings the focus of the bass to the center even more, which makes your overall master sound that much better, okay? So that's really cool. And the really cool thing about this plugin is it's actually modeled after the SSL Fusion hardware processor out there, which pretty much everyone wants to get their hands on. That's actually probably going to be a purchase of mine this year, maybe. We'll see. I do most of my work in the box here, but I am thinking about adding some hardware this year, okay? So definitely get your hands on this plugin if you guys can afford it. So that leads me to our third mastering plugin, which is all right, so the Sonnox Oxford Inflator. This thing has been around for years, and I actually just started using it last year, and I actually just kind of fell in love with it. It's very easy to use. The manual gives you complete instructions on the best way to use it, and what it does is it just inflates the sound of your overall master. It makes it louder, but of course in a very positive way. And really, it just has a few knobs on it, so you can't really. I don't want to say you can't jack it up, because you can jack up any plugin, but the overall concept of this plugin is that it allows you to get your master louder without compressing it and without limiting it and smashing it. So it doesn't take the life out of it, it inflates it. And that's really all this plugin does. So again, I use it in my chain. It is not the last plugin in my chain where some people may use it. So that's a little secret there for you guys. I actually use it, I want to tell you guys my whole mastering chain here. I'm going to leave some secrets here to myself here, but maybe down the road I'll expose my whole mastering chain. But I will tell you, hint, hint, it is not the last plugin in my mastering chain, okay? So let's move on to the fourth best plugin of mastering plugins, which is Mastering the Mixes Reso. So I've done a video on this plugin this past year, and I have a link popping up in the top right corner now, so check that out after this video. So this plugin is it's just awesome. I just keep constantly using it in my masters ever since it came out. You just slap it on, and it pretty much works. So what it does is it listens to your mix, and it basically calculates the resonant frequencies listening to it. It's kind of an AI plugin. And then you basically engage it, and then it reduces those resonant frequencies. And it's very subtle, and that's what I love about it. So sometimes we're kind of worried when we just kind of put some plugin on and let it do its thing. We're kind of afraid that it's doing something negative to the sound. This thing is so subtle that no, it's not doing anything bad. It's safe. It's a safety net, basically, if anything. You just pop it on there, you let it search for its targets, then you engage the targets, you're done. Just let it do its thing, you're good to go. And the nice thing about it is, if you really listen, it does smooth out the music. If you put on some good headphones and you really listen, it does remove some of those resonant frequencies that have a negative impact on your music that you could be missing maybe if you're listening on studio monitors. But again, those little things matter, and this plugin is great for catching those little things. So let's talk about the last plugin, which is something that I've been using for a long time. And again, I should have mentioned these plugins are not in any special order, but with that being said, let's get to our last best mastering plugin in this video, which is all right, so Izotope Ozone 9. So I absolutely love this plugin, and it's not really even a plugin, it's a full mastering suite. And it does pretty much everything. And if you're a beginner, you can pretty much run the AI assistant, and it's going to get you to a pretty good place. You can probably release your song with just using the AI assistant. Now, for us professional mastering engineers, that's not going to quite get us where we want to be, but it can be a good starting point for us. And I'm not going to lie, I've actually used that in some of my clients' masters, and then of course I've gone in and done my tweaking and added some extra modules that it has in there. It has some good tools in there also that help us if, we receive a client's mix and things are just way out of balance. It has a whole rebalance module in there, allows us to basically rebalance the drums, bass, I think vocals are in there too. I hardly ever use it, but it is very good. It's actually very impressive. I still don't know how they were able to achieve that. So that's very cool. And then of course, the limiter in there. I'm sorry for the people that love the new Sonnox Smart Limit, because I did a video on that recently. I don't think it compares to the limiter here in Ozone. I love it. I think the limiter here is great. It has all these great parameters in there. And of course, even this limiter has some, clipping options in here, which we talked about clipping earlier. I forget how many different types of profiles it has from limiting to clipping in it, but it has a lot. And it basically has a flavor for everyone in there to get you where you need to be. So this is actually the last plugin in my mastering chain, so I'll give that away to you here. And this is pretty much where I finalize things. It has a true peak setting in there, which of course I use, and I do that -1. That's where I set my stuff at for mastering. Some of you guys may know that Spotify likes it at -2 if you're going, I think, louder than -14, but I still do all my stuff at -1. So you're getting some free tips here from me also in this video while I'm giving you my favorite 5 mastering plugins. But again, yeah, so I love Ozone. I think it's probably the best mastering suite out there. It doesn't get me where I need to be completely. I use all these other plugins with it, and I use them in conjunction. And it's just a little bit from each that builds up to make, I guess you could say, the audio Sorcerer mastering sound, all right? All right, so those are my top 5 best mastering plugins. And again, I use them all in my mixes. If you guys like those, again, I have links in the description below where you can go purchase them. And if you guys end up liking this video, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe so I'm making this content for you, and hit that notification bell to know when I have new videos coming out. And if you guys enjoyed this video, you can't really master your music unless your room is tuned, so check out my video on the IK Multimedia Arc System 3. And with that being said, until the next video, I'll see you guys later, and peace out.